Coming up next on Arizona Horizons Journalists Roundtable, Mesa Mayor Scott Smith announces that he is running for governor. A 3 decades old case regarding mental health care is finally settled, and a preview of the governor's upcoming State of the State address. The Journalists Roundtable is next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizons Journalists Roundtable. I'm Ted Simons. Joining me tonight are Mary Jo Pitzel of the Arizona Republic, Howard Fisher from Capital Media Services, and Luigi Del Puerto of the Arizona Capital Times. Add another name to the list of candidates running for governor. Mary Jo, this is Scott Smith, Mayor. Surprised at all?
No, I was a little bit surprised. I thought that maybe the mayor gig and the national platform that he has with the Conference of Mayors was enough to tide him over for maybe a cycle or two. But as we got into late 13 and early this year, the signs were quite clear that he was going to jump in. So that makes for a very crowded GOP field for governor.
Crowded? Is he a viable candidate?
Oh, he's definitely a viable candidate. The question is how he's going to position himself. You know, the nature of Republican primaries tends to be the folks on the right wing of the party who turn out. Now, on one hand, you know, he's anti-abortion, anti-gay marriage. He says, I'm a strong Second Amendment supporter, although we've got him on record from last year as saying he would support additional background checks. He has also supported publicly financed stadiums. He's made some statements about immigration and dreamers that may not play well with that particular wing of the party. Now, of course, with a 6-7-way Republican primary, anything's possible.
Exactly. If he is, I know the word moderate is just an anathema to these folks, but if he is a moderate and everybody else in the race is fighting to be the most conservative, is he a viable candidate?
If it's a very crowded race, you don't need to win 40%. You may just need, what, 25%, 27%, and then under 30% of the vote, and you could secure that that nomination. Also, you know, one of the things that we've heard from the East Valley politicians that are close to him is this narrative that, you know, he's a mayor, he's a nonpartisan mayor, and therefore now he can go on a statewide sort of audience and say, well, you know, here's what I've done in Mesa. And since he is largely unknown to the rest of the state, and he can paint his own canvas and maybe zig and zag and, you know, be as conservative as he would want to be perceived.
And he has a story to tell in terms of Mesa, in terms of they cut their budget without raising taxes. There was no temporary 1-cent sales tax a la Jan Brewer. The Cubs Stadium, you know, even if you question that, the fact is the voters voted for it. Even in the Republican precincts, they voted for it. So he does have a story to tell.
Please.
Yeah, I think so, although some of this presumes that Smith is the one that will differentiate himself from the pack. I mean, we have really not seen a campaign start yet. So, you know, where does Christine Jones land on this? Where does, you know, Kim Bennett's put down some markers? Doug Ducey hasn't, you know, spelled out his priorities very clearly. So Scott Smith may not be this sort of departure from the pack that everybody's assuming that he is. I mean, let's let this campaign roll on a little bit.
And the pollster, Margaret Kensky from Southern Arizona, said, you know, really this race will hinge on two things: money raised, that would determine how much they can, their ability to get their message out, and also how they navigate the fissures within the Republican Party. Now, if you look at the 1-cent sales tax, for example, as Margaret Kensky had, she said 15% of Republican men voted against it by a 15-point margin, but Republican women voted for it by exactly the same margin. So there's a split within the Republican Party, and how you finesse those could be a key to winning this race.
And the other thing that we don't know is, yes, primaries generally are very party-centric, but independents can vote in primaries. And how much will any of these camps try to activate independent voters to come out and vote in August?
And that's a really good point, because if you're even a leaning Democrat, there's nothing going on over there as far as a primary race is concerned. You might go ahead and test the waters over there on the Republican side.
Well, there's certainly that. I mean, the fact is there are more independents than Democrats in this state, and as Mary Jo points out, the problem has been activating them. They can walk in and say, I'd like a Republican ballot. Mm-hmm. They don't. And that's the issue. Could you tap those Republicans? Could somebody, find them. Now the question is, who are these people? Are they the vast middle? Or are these the Tea Partiers for whom all the parties are too liberal for them?
So, please.
Yeah, no one has yet figured out a way to get them to the ballot.
Okay, impact on Bennett, Ducey, Jones.
Well, I mean, you've got Ducey, who was at least jumped out in front. You know, I think he was trying to scare off everybody with that $1 million. Look what I've already got in my pocket. Obviously, Scott wasn't going to go ahead and do that. I think he may have a higher impact on Bennett, who's running with public money. I mean, Bennett's already been outspent in January because Bennett's only going to get $750,000. So, you know, Scott's going to run with private money. But again, you know, back to Luigi's point, you've got this many people in the race, and the metrics of how that all divides up is too hard to tell until we find out positions of where everyone is.
Does the announcement impact at all the Fred Duvall campaign?
I don't know how it. Fred's doing what Fred's doing.
Sure.
Fred,
And everybody expected that Scott Smith Mary Jo's right, late last year, it was very clear that he was preparing to jump into the race. So nobody really was surprised among the candidates at his end. So I don't think it really impacts Duvall at this point.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe the Duvall campaigns, you know, lighting more votive candles that Andy Thomas will pull through. I think that would be their preferred opponent.
All right. We have the governor's State of the State address set for Monday. Of course, legislature set to begin as well. Howie, we'll start with you. What do we expect? We had the Chamber of Commerce luncheon today. Not a heck of a lot was said there as far as the governor's address. Is she saving it for Monday? What's going on here?
Well, I think half of what we're going to see is, aren't I great? I mean, it's going to be, look, I took over, Janet Napolitano left the state in a mess, and now we have a balanced budget, which isn't actually technically true, well, with the structural deficit, but that's fine. Obviously, CPS. She's going to tell us again how shocked she was by all this. It's not going to happen again. We're going to get to the bottom of it. I don't see her firing Clarence from the podium, although that would be one hell of a headline. K-12 funding is an issue. She has some of the variation of the program she tried last year where you give schools that have students do better more money. The difference is, unlike last year, she's not taking money away from the poorly performing schools. Some university funding issues, fire issues, perhaps, you know, whether it's a question of you know, just more money for the state forester, or whether it's also perhaps some other issues in there in terms of staffing.
And those issues were all brought up again at the Chamber of Commerce luncheon today, which was expertly moderated. I did want to point out.
So somebody, who do we know who might have been there?
But with that being said, the relationship, governor, legislature, this go around. You can want X, Y, and Z, but is anyone listening?
Well, last year was very contentious, no doubt about it. So we don't expect this year to be as contentious as last year because we don't have the big giant Medicaid fight that we had in 2013. Although we expect some of that contentiousness to spill over into this year. Of course, you know, there are questions as to whether Speaker Andy Tobin is going to keep Representative Robson as role chairman, and what that means, what that bodes for that chamber, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, I guess at the end of the day, the one thing that may unite them is the fact that it's an election year and they may want to get out of there as quickly as they can.
That's a big factor, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a big factor. And also, I mean, you can preach GOP unity. It would be nice in an election year to show that the Republican Party is united and that legislative leaders and the governor are on the same page. That said, we'll know more after she speaks on Monday, but the governor has already put out some markers, as Howie outlined, that we're getting feedback from legislative leadership. They're not all nuts about it, especially that funding figure on CPS. That's going to be a real hard one.
And here's the problem. We are still spending more money than we're taking in. That's that structural deficit. Now, we're living off the 1 cent tax that we managed to get and that expired. If you just keep up funding where it is now with just baseline increases, inflation, and number of students, we could end up $500 million in the hole by 2017. Lawmakers don't want to add anything to that. They recognize there needs to be some CPS money. You know, John Kavanaugh is always saying maybe we ought to ask voters to raid the first things first for the rest of it. issues of university money, issues of K-12 money, it's all going to be nickel and dime because they're afraid of what happens down the road. She's going to be gone. I know she doesn't believe it, but she's going to be gone, and it's not going to be her problem.
And again, today at the luncheon, I asked whether or not Medicaid expansion / restoration, is that a settled issue? Is that over with? You would think it would be a settled issue. However, President Biggs said, well, down the road there could be corrections. What does that mean?
Well, Medicaid expansion is very unpopular among conservative Republicans. Was speaking with a county party official the other day, and he said, well, this is going to be a front burner issue, Medicaid expansion. We're going to be closely watching this issue. We want to repeal the Affordable Care Act, and this is a key part of it. I mean, it will remain an issue. And the fact is that it's in the court system right now.
Right.
We don't know what the court will do. And here's an interesting thing. What if the courts decide that it needs a Prop 108 mechanism and sends it back to the legislature? What happens next? And that would be a cluster.
Yeah. I think, first of all, I think President Biggs is right. Any kind of legislation such as Medicaid expansion or restoration, there are some, with this new assessment, there's probably going to be some tweaks needed. That happens. But I suspect he's alluding to larger changes, and I think he was also signaling that he's not going to be the one to bring those about. However, he and 35 other Republican lawmakers are plaintiffs in a lawsuit that we're waiting to see if they're going to be able to get their day in court to argue that the whole ball of wax was passed unconstitutionally.
And that's really the point of what Luigi said. If the court says, A, concludes the legislature is standing to sue, and B, that you do need a 2/3 vote because this is a tax hike, it's not an assessment, it's not a fee, then therefore, where do you find 20 senators and 40 reps? I mean, I can't see it in an election year. I don't know what you could give them.
In an election year is an emphasis there. And the last point on those lines, are we going to start seeing some referrals or some ideas late in the session aimed at exciting the base now that you want to get maybe the folks in your district out there at the polls?
We're already seeing them on a few things. I mean, both Luigi and I got into it with Steve Montenegro, who's got a bill to say that because of the danger of gay marriage, we're going to say that rabbis and priests don't have to be required to perform gay ceremonies. I don't know anybody who is saying, I'm sorry, Imam, you have to do this. And the funny thing is, the place where it is an issue, which is private, there was an issue in New Mexico where a photographer refused to do a gay wedding. This bill doesn't even affect it. We have other things out there. John Kavanaugh has a few interesting things. He wants to create a database, much like a sex offender database, of people who are guilty of animal abuse. So if you've been to a cockfight, you have to register with the sheriff. This is going to be a wonderful year for really interesting bills.
And don't forget, on the Democratic side, we'll probably see the measures that we always see every year and try to shore up their base as well. Measures like maybe get rid of the death penalty, texting while driving and penalizing that, etc.
And closing tax loopholes. There's already the infamous tax exemption for the 4-inch pipes. That one, Senator Farley's been back in the hopper already with a bill to do away with that exemption.
So Harry, are you suggesting the Montenegro bill doesn't have much of a chance?
Well, no, exactly the opposite. I mean, dear sir, look, and given, as we were probably going to discuss anyway, for a segue here, we were going to discuss the fact that now we have an active lawsuit in Arizona by 4 couples who are challenging the longstanding state law and the 2006 voter-approved constitutional amendment that defines marriages between one man and one woman. There is a good possibility that Sean Aiken, and I know you had him on the other night,
yes,
could win at least part of this. It's one thing to say Arizona has to allow marriages to be performed here. That's going to go to the Supreme Court. That's an interesting question of states' rights. But the better question is, if you're legally married in California and you come here, are you entitled under the full faith and credit clause of the U.S. Constitution to have that contract honored? That's the nature of it.
Now, that's also the nature of what's happening in Utah right now in the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals.
And the only thing that stopped it so far is the Defense of Marriage Act has a provision that says states don't have to do that. Now, that was the one portion of DOMA the Supreme Court didn't deal with. That portion is going away. I'll make my prediction here that at some point states are going to be forced to recognize each other's marriages.
And how you raise an important point there. In the Utah case, the judge there, the federal court judge that ruled that the ban on same-sex marriage in Utah is unconstitutional, said what we have here is a clash of two interests. One is individual rights and the other is states' rights. And he said, well, this issue is not really about states' rights. It's about individual rights. And if it is about states' rights, he basically said that individual rights overrule states' rights. And that's what we have here. That's what Attorney Akin is arguing, this very similar argument that he's raised in the Arizona case.
Indeed, he's got that the federal right in his eyesights there. Okay, if something made it to the ballot reasonably soon, relatively soon, same-sex marriage in Arizona, does it pass this time?
Not in 2014.
2016.
2016 more likely. And that's part of the reason there wasn't a proposal out there, both for that and in fact for marijuana, that the supporters have said, well, we want a presidential election year. Do we want a year where the governor is the top race on the ticket? I think in 2016, I think enough people now know gays who are wed. Folks have, I hate the term, but come out of the closet, and all of a sudden you're realizing sports figures are gay, the people next door are gay, and by George, the world hasn't come to an end.
2016 as opposed to 2014, more likely?
More likely, it's a presidential election year that brings out a broader population base. And the organizers of these efforts are eyeing 2016.
With the larger, broader population base, is there a chance that this still could fall?
Yes, there's a chance that it could fall. There's a chance that, remember, the last two ballot measures that deal with this one passed with a slight majority. The other failed, also with a slight majority. And so this is an issue that has always divided Arizona, and I think the divide is very close. But if you look at the nation, for example, you look at the map 5 years ago, what the map looked like. I mean, 2 states allowed same-sex marriage. Today, 17 states plus the District of Columbia do. And so, and the change in the attitude among Americans is especially very stark. I mean, now it's 50% or more of Americans who favor same-sex marriage. I mean, that's a dramatic change from what it was 5 years ago.
Now, that's not to say we won't see Kathy Herod out there, waging her rearguard action. And there are a lot of people for whom they say, look, marriage is different than civil unions, perhaps, or something else. But there are a lot of folks, this is a very touchy issue. It deals with belief in the Bible, belief in God, and everything else.
Real quickly, would the business community get involved in something like this, considering you've got an Apple, which decided that Mesa was a nice place to be? Is Mesa still a nice place to be if the state or if the legislature is that strong against this kind of issue?
Well, I don't think it'll affect the business community. It's one thing if they were, what happened in 2006 were to happen now. In other words, taking away something. And even then, you really weren't taking it away because it was already statutorily prohibited. I think Apple would have a real problem with saying, why are you taking away things? We have employees here who are gay. In terms of the state voting one way or the other
With
on it?
all the states surrounding it going one direction and Arizona going the opposite direction, again.
What it'll lead to is not so much the companies here getting involved, but it may become a detriment to trying to attract new firms. Because a lot of firms, take a look at the top 100 firms in the state. When the Republic puts out its list, I'll bet you 75% of them already offer domestic partner benefits.
All right, I want to make sure we touch on the Arnold E. Sarnes settlement because that is something that was around even before you, I think, Howie. Were you?
Almost. I was a wee tyke.
Well,
no,
yeah.
it only goes back. I was only 31 at the time. The issue is, back in the 70s, the state made a decision we're going to get folks out of mental hospitals, deinstitutionalize. Good decision. Except they never provided the follow-up care so folks could live in the community. So this lawsuit was filed, and in 1985, Judge Doherty said, you're not following even your own laws, which require you to provide this care. And there have been a lot of false starts. Mary Jo and I have both lived through these with Governor Hull and everything else. And finally, 2 years ago, a lot of credit going to Jan Brewer, that she said, I want this resolved. And they finally said, look, we think we can make this happen, particularly if Medicaid expansion comes. And sure enough, they signed off on it.
Medicaid expansion, obviously a big factor here, but back to the history lesson. I mean, we're talking from 81 to the late 80s. Supreme Court finally says, do something. Couple of years later, an agreement. Couple of years later, until a couple of years ago. I mean, what was going on out there?
Well, I think it shows you, one, where these issues rank in terms of public priority in Arizona. The governor herself has said that it's a very difficult issue. It's hard for the public to get its arms around this and understand some of the complexities of mental health. And really, at the end of the day, it all revolves around dollars. And the state has always had other priorities.
And there's one other piece of this, which is why I don't think that the plaintiffs pushed too hard for immediate funding. The basis of Arnold versus Sarn was the state was not following its own laws. There were threats from time to time, we'll just repeal the laws that require us to provide the care. And you really didn't want to, that mutually assured destruction, I think, scared everyone.
Timing of the announcement before the State of the State address, in the middle of CPS getting some really bad press. Coincident?
I'm not sure if it's coincidence or not, but what I'm certain is that this is going to be one of the biggest legacies that the governor will leave to Arizona. A final, or at least for now, a resolution to this 33-year-old case.
All right.
And that's great for the state.
Let's get back to the State of the State address here on Monday. Are we going to see raging headlines here? Is the governor going to come out and just surprise a lot of folks with a lot of different things, or is this going to be somewhat boilerplate?
I think it'll be a little more, I think it'll comport with what the expectation is, that she'll talk a lot about economic development, about CPS, about education funding, and reference Arnold v. Sarn as a way to sort of draw attention to some of her accomplishments. But I don't anticipate that anyone will be walking out on her. I think we've sort of learned that lesson. And I don't see raging headlines, although, I don't write them anyway.
And part of it is that some of the details will have to wait until next Friday when we actually see the budget. For example, we know she's going to talk about economic development, maybe even the idea of some changes in tax law. We know that she's got money in there for some universities. We know there's money in there for K-12. We know some of what's there, the $40 million for K-12, but a lot of this is going to come out as the details in the budget, and that's when we may see, when the rubber starts meeting the road.
And from a political perspective, I think what people are going to be listening to and probably will not hear is any indication that this is in my last State of the State address, is in my final budget proposal. Anything that will suggest that she is closing the book, on her tenure as governor. Jan Brewer has often said she makes all her political decisions in February, and Monday is January 13th.
And even if she does, for the next 5 months, it really wouldn't matter so much. She's still the governor. They still need her. She still can veto bills. She's still all the powers of her office. She's got all the advantages that she has last year or the year before when she started.
But that's a really good point. I mean, you can tell from the tenor of the conversation, you wouldn't want to waste that opportunity to basically tie up my administration and my career in a bow.
But that starts off where we started, 20-some minutes ago, where I said, I think half of the speech is going to be, look at me, look at where I've taken us from $1 billion in the hole, $3 billion in the hole, to where we are now. And again, she'll use the term balanced budget, a little shaky, from a fact perspective. But no, this will be, I'd say that 40% of the speech will be looking back and looking at the accomplishments.
All right, and as far as funding cuts, will that be emphasize a restoration of previous funding cuts, or will we see more of a molding, kind of an outline framework sort of a thing?
I wouldn't expect that. I think that the governor, as there is money that's restored, it comes in the framework of restructuring and creating efficiencies, and the emphasis would be more on that restructuring rather than the dollars.
Okay, we'll stop it right there and look forward to Monday's speech and the start of the session. Good luck, everyone. Monday on Arizona Horizon, the governor gives her State of the State address, marking the start of the legislative session. We'll run the speech in its entirety and then get reaction from political consultants. That's Monday evening, 5:30 and 10, right here on Arizona Horizon. Tuesday, hear what Republican leaders in the House and Senate have to say about their legislative priorities. Wednesday, our weekly legislative update with the Arizona Capital Times. Thursday, we hear from Democratic leadership on what they're looking for this session. And Friday, it's another edition of the Journalists Roundtable. A reminder, if you want to find out what we're doing in the past, what we've done in the past, I should say, what we're doing in the future, and what we're doing right now, you can check us out on the web, azpbs.org/horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great weekend.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.